Nice. So how you guys been? How you holding up before, I don't know, the last week before the holidays? You've been busy with work and stuff?
Uh, I can start answering. Yeah, hello. So yeah, little bit. I've decided if it's like become a little bit quiet in the team, nobody like really actively working, I will be the guy who will push to the limits. Meanwhile, we just can handle it. Like it's in Gamedev, it's always not a good time to upgrade this stuff or move forward with this stuff. It's just like trying to be a little bit more conservative so nothing breaks in the middle, especially in the crunch. But I decided to utilize this situation of calmness to upgrade almost everything, and even I broke my crash reporter, so crash report actually crashed. So yeah, just using the situation in my side.
What about you, Michal?
Well, there's always something happening in the net team, online team, because like you kind of take care of the online game, so there's always something can be done better, right? Because like network is a variable thing. That regardless of how good we have engineers, how good we try to prepare, there's always some guy that can't connect. So yeah, yeah, we're trying to patch up everything as we go, but it looks generally good. It looks peaceful, so we're looking forward to a very nice Christmas.
No, it's very cool. Very cool. Yeah, it's always tricky when you're working on a live service game, no? Many things can happen, especially in like Christmas time, where people are more into playing games and spending their time playing PlayStation or Xbox or PC or whatnot. I'm certainly looking forward to that. You guys got any plans trying some new games on Christmas or on the holidays?
Myself, I'm not sure. Probably not about the games. It's probably again a little bit nerdish, but writing on my like own engine a little bit. So yeah, a bit of free time. Again, push it here and there. Yeah, and about the games, I'm like following the latest updates and latest releases. I'm not sure I'm particularly interested in something like I'm still playing sometimes really like old games or past releases yet. So yeah, don't know what's happening, but not that like hot right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean next year is supposed to be a good year for games, right? There's a lot of new
It's
things
like
coming
always,
out.
right?
Yeah,
next year, definitely like 100%.
You mentioned something really good here. Like the everyone is kind of playing old games. It's kind of a funny thing, but actually it's a thing now, right? When you have like those large AAA companies doing, I don't want to call names, but doing the same same spin-off of the same game again and again with the same controls, where you have like the same missions, go listen to some guy, free the outpost, find an item, go listen to another guy, free outpost, find an item, right? So there's not a lot of good games, but I think that what's happening right now is that the indie games market is kind of interesting. So for an example, Dark and Darker, it's my like editor's choice game, and I recommend it to you guys.
Nice. Is it? I've not tried it. Is it on PC or is it on consoles or?
It's on PC. It's a medieval fantasy FPP roguelike. So it's a little bit like a mix of skill and RPG. So items matter, but your skill also matters.
Cool.
Yeah. In Seaside, I've like a while ago opened for myself a itch.io, and we decided like sometimes we're doing like this Fridays where we're playing games with friends like on Discord and everyone looking, and we're like downloading like 5-6 games. They're really small, yeah, and they're free because like it's just like 1 or 2 person made it on the weekends, and it's actually sometimes they have like good ideas. Actually, it's like they're not polished, they're like clumsy, you know where not to look, where to look, but it's actually fun, and you can finish every game like in 20-30 minutes. So this is like indie of indies basically.
Well, that's the thing, like so many games nowadays, you just get into them and you spend hours and hours and hours trying to finish them, but you never can, and it's so frustrating.
Yeah. By the way, do you have like a games where like which you always return, and in Steam it's you have like 1,000 hours or something like, or even more?
Maybe Elden Ring for me.
Hmm.
So I always find something to do in there. Although I haven't played it in a while now. I actually just got myself a PlayStation. I've had Xbox for like 3 years now, maybe, but I thought, okay, I need something else. So I bought myself a PlayStation. I downloaded some PlayStation games, which I'm looking forward to playing. Like I started playing Uncharted, for example. I've never played that game, and it's I'm enjoying it. So,
It's the adventure thing, right?
Mhm.
Like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's very well. The play style, I guess, is quite similar to The Last of Us, or but see different story, like different mechanics and stuff. But yeah, it's good. It's really really good. So cool. Maybe we can start with you guys introducing yourselves. So like what you guys do, what you guys known for, like what's your specialty, basically.
Okay. I think we can just start and like do it in this order, so
Sure,
it
sure.
will be not mixed up. Okay, yeah, sure. So my name is Nikita. I'm working as a graphics engineer. Yeah, and like I think for all my history, I was like connected to graphics somehow. Right now, I'm working with Michal in Highwire, and we are doing like 6 days in Fallujah. Yeah, so I'm really interested about all the visual stuff and the performance, and yeah, all the graphics. So that's basically it.
Cool.
So,
What about you, Michal?
hi, I'm Michael. I'm the server guy for the 6 Days in Fallujah project. So I take care of the online development and backend development for our game. So if you're failing to connect, it's on me.
Nice. So obviously, you guys are both programming guys. You've got a lot of experience in that. I mean, if you were to explain to somebody outside of the industry, what game programming is, or how would you define it? Like what would your explanation be? How would you kind of approach that? I don't know. If you had to explain to somebody who's not necessarily never played games, but maybe not worked in the industry, like why programming matters or what it is.
Yeah, I think we with Michael doing it always. Like if you meeting new people, they asking like what you do for a living, and you're like, so you saying probably server programming, like network programming. They're like, okay, what to program? It's already there, like internet and that stuff, right? I'm doing the same. When I send the graphics programmer, everyone like, you draw, or you like, what are you doing? Like, what is graphics and why you programming it? It's like, and yeah, the short one, which I'm trying always to align, it's basically whatever you see in the games or in Blender, it's in like combination of artists who draw assets or 2D and the other programmers who basically allows it to be on your screen. Like all the process from like operation system and all of these like assets going from some models to animated, alive, with shiny reflections, with shadows, with fog on top. It's basically me who doing this mess and yeah, GPU programming. And the artists are basically defining with textures, with models, with some specification how it should behave. So that's what I'm doing.
I had like a different answer for this question, more into depth, because can you repeat the question? Can you explain what is game programming, right?
Exactly, like
So
somebody who
I
maybe
wanted yeah. So I wanted to approach this from a bit different angle. Instead of telling what I do, I want to tell what in the meta thing the game programming is for me, right? Because when you do normal software, your software has to do some business goals, right? And it has to, for an example, count how many cars we have to rebuild this month and how many tires we have to order, right? And there's some business goal that the software does, right? And the experience of how you do it doesn't matter. And for me, the game programming is all about the experience. because it's software that's kind of made for pleasure. So there are no business goal. Your business goal is the experience. So the game programming is about making the player having a good experience when he interacts with your software, right? So what I do is at work is I make your joining server comfortable experience.
That's
Until we are making a car factory simulator, so
cool. That's a good way. That's a good way of putting it together. And like, does your role and does Nikita's role intersect somehow? I mean, do you guys work a lot with each other, or are you working on some completely different areas that don't necessarily like relate to one another?
yeah, I would say it's not really. I mean, we have a common shared like code base. So I mean, we have own like the libraries and source code and infrastructure. So we're using it, and if it breaks or it's not behaved correctly, we can ask each other or share some experience. But in specialization, I mean, where you're doing like networking or the graphics, it's not really intersection areas. Yeah.
Gotcha. What is
maybe
it?
on some part of the issues with assets, maybe there we could kind of intersect. It's something on the server, but yeah, 100% what Nikita said here.
Why did you choose the specific area of programming? Both of you, what is it just naturally that you came through to do networking, or you, Nikita, went to do graphics, or was it some reason that you decided to sort of pursue that particular area?
Yeah, maybe Michael want to answer you first. So like, no time. Always the first. So yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just out of luck, and someone had to do networking, and it just stick with me. And you can either because I really wanted to do games, and was the only option to get into games given my past experience, right? So I had to choose whether to like what I'm doing and be good at it, or to dislike it and drop gaming. So just liking what I do.
Yeah, in my case, I think it's a little bit more unusual, probably because I studied in Russia a while ago in space, like aerospace instrumentation university, and I actually wanted to work on space. But I mean, my personal opinion is that space in Russia quite dead. I don't care, and I always looked forward to SpaceX or NASA, like just normal wanting to get into space guy. And yeah, like it's not easy for Russian born person to get into States, and especially in this kind of industry if you don't have a citizenship or anything else. So yeah, preface, I basically worked my first work experience. I just did some 3D and even like UI for Mercedes, like for head unit, like when you have in a Tesla, like a monitor in the middle. I was the guy who did the same with for Mercedes, and I realized that if I want to follow kind of my original train of thought, like and the kind of dream about the space, I need to keep my skills sharp because like this UI development, and it's not really that hardcore. Like if you go from that position into game industry or somewhere else, you will have so much deep questions that you will you will not handle them correctly. So I've thought that what is the hardest industry I can get into to keep my skill sharp, and this is gaming for sure. This is most hardcore and most desired, and for me particularly in graphics, I thought it is the way. Like for graphics, you need to know how to program. Obviously, you need to know C++ or C. Assembly quite a lot to understand about some data and stuff. You need to know how hardware works, like your CPU, your GPU. You need to know math, so you can do calculations about the rays, intersections, planes, and some trigonometry and physics, how light works, and yeah, so on and so forth. So I'm still here, but getting older, it's like space not getting closer. Whatever, we'll see.
Day.
I mean, yeah, we'll see. I mean, I like so far the industry, and I get common to it, so I'm quite a specialist in this area. But it's just original how I got in the industry story.
Yeah, I think both of you have these niches that you obviously have a lot of experience in, and you've managed to progress, I think, in your careers quite fast. And I think, like, just talking from like a recruiter perspective, these two areas are usually the areas where it's quite hard to recruit good people, because there's not that many people that are doing that stuff, especially at that level. So
This
yeah,
is actually
props,
interesting.
props
Maybe
to you.
I
for
can ask
doing
you
that.
a question about it, like, because sometimes I actually think that, for example, I know that again for graphics, there are not too much people, but if you go to like LinkedIn and type like a graphics programmer and search for someone, it will be like 10,000 people out there, and I mean probably half of them employed, but half of them free to hire. And yeah, it's not like normal, just regular C++ engineer for a particular role, which you need to know algorithms and that's it. Yeah, it's more like niche, but I was surprised that it's hard to find. Like, feels like it's kind of a lot of people out there, no?
I mean, maybe a little bit more now, but like historically, it's been pretty always been a fairly difficult role to fill. And I think, just talking about the industry in general, like, even if there are people that are looking for opportunities, like in a lot of cases when you're hiring somebody at fairly senior level or lead level, like generally those people like are employed or like busy doing something, or I mean, I don't know. And there's also like other nuances and aspects that include, like remote work and relocation and the engine that the person has experience working on, etc., etc. So there's a lot of things to like narrow down your search with when you
Okay, so it's a filter of people,
Yeah.
just reducing the amount. Okay.
Exactly. Cool. So if somebody is kind of looking to, if somebody is starting in the industry and looking to, essentially become a programmer in the games industry nowadays and have a successful career, like what sort of things that they need to do? Like, why do you think you guys succeeded and in the industry and sort of, join these fairly well-known companies and are working on successful projects? Like, what do you do? Anything extra? Do you, I don't know, sharpen your skills even after work? Is programming both your sort of work and your life? Like, is that something that you need to kind of do and focus very much on in order to have like a successful career? Or is it sometimes just luck and opportunities come your way? And I don't know, like, what advice maybe you can give to other people looking to have like successful careers in programming?
Okay, maybe Michael can start. I can add.
I can start.
Yep.
I have a super quote for it. So, success is when preparation meets luck. So I think you need both. So you have to be, a decent engineer. You have to like what you do, right? Be devoted to your project. But in order to be devoted to a project, you have to like the project. Because if you don't like the project, you're not gonna spend as many hours working on it, right? And you're not gonna be, it's not going to give you a lot of satisfaction, right? So both things, both preparation and both luck to that there's an opening for a project that you might fit in, and you need also a good team. So I think there are many factors that made us in the place that we are. But that's only my point of view of this.
Yeah, I'm quite agree with Michael. It's like, and I like how he more pushes like philosophical in the first place. It's also cool. Yeah, it's basically what the Michael said. And for games, the problem is, for example, when I joined my first game company, I've talked with very different people. We had an art director from States back in Russia, like back then, and he worked on Jurassic Park at his time, and he actually like draw some dinosaurs and stuff. He was like already like mature, and he told the stories, for example, that I thought like, okay, maybe every artist's dream to join the Pixar, and he said that it's true and very untrue, because yes, you want to join the best, the finest team of 3D animation, but the demand is so huge that like it's dumping the salaries and stuff. So it's like And this game industry, it's also a thing, and I'm sure like Thomas knows that, for example, if you go into finance, you will get like a lot of money probably, or like go to Google or like Amazon. But if you go to niche game engine development, it's basically what Michael said. It's like it gives you a joy of doing something valuable, and the programming and your input is really matter, but it's a little bit of trade-off. And the question is how to get into. I got into game industry from second time. Like first interview I failed. I've literally prepared like for kind of not all the time, but for a year, and tried the same position, same company second time. And after I got it, and first time they liked me, but they just found someone more suited with experience and stuff. So yeah, and from preparation, of course, it's just like for you, you need to know the basics of programming and low-level programming, all like pointers, memory layouts, algorithms and stuff, and something on top of it. For game design, you need to know some patterns, like some code efficiency. For server, you definitely need to all networking, and better you know, you have higher chances. For graphics, you need to know some graphics, and for that, definitely just spend some time on free time to just play around. Like you need to write something on to show, to share, and with practice, you just like have more reflected into your mind. I'm still doing it. I mean, we're writing like a game in Unreal Engine, and with Unreal Engine, you can't really experiment often because it's just you're trying to not really to change it too much. So I have my free time engine where I can break things, explode my GPU driver, like don't care, like I'm just doing the crazy stuff, and then I can just check it again in Unreal, so it's a little bit more accurate and so on. So yeah.
Nice, some great advice here. I think, but that's like probably in anything that you do, right? You need to be prepared. If it's your passion, if it's something that you enjoy doing, you're like putting the effort and you're learning things, and I don't know, you're spending some extra time on it, and then yeah, when the opportunity strikes, then you're ready to accept it and be good at it and really succeed in it. So yeah.
Wanted to pick up something that Nikita said about playing around at home, and I totally agree. And if it's for the newcomers, people who want to join, totally just try to make your own game, and you're gonna get all different kind of problems, and that's the best training you can have, because it's not only about knowledge, it's about you learning how to approach problems and stuff. So yeah. Do your own stuff.
Definitely, and it has so much weight in the interview process, this thing as well. Like if you have experience making your own game, and for example, if you've done everything from like programming to design to art, whatever, and then if somebody asks you like, it gives you like a particular problem, and asks you how you would solve it, you already have experience in doing it. Okay, maybe not at that sort of high level, but at least you've done something and you're able to talk about it a lot more like confident way. So yeah, that's part of it. How so obviously you guys working at Highwire Games, right? You're working on 6 days of Fallujah project. You have a fully remote setup at the moment, right? Now, how closely do you work with like other disciplines, not necessarily like programmers, but I don't know, like designers or like arts or artists or people in other disciplines? And do they ever come to you and give you some kind of impossible task that you need to solve, or I don't know, maybe your technical lead would come to you and say like, oh, this is the plan, this is what we guys want to do with the game, like this is what community is asking, for example, or whatever it is. Like, how do you approach these maybe impossible to solve technical problems, and are they impossible, or is there always a solution, from your point of view?
Yeah, I think I can start maybe. The short answer is all the time, for me personally. In my case, art director or technical artists approach me constantly, and it's another aspect of being a graphics developer. It's basically like specialization starts fork and fork and fork. I mean, you're starting from that just a general programmer who know C++ and algorithms, then you know a little bit about the graphics, then you can specialize in the visual effects kind of more, or like in optimizations and APIs and stuff. So it's like a binary tree kind of. And in my case, impossible tasks is daily routine. How it sounds, of course, it's like very high level, but it's true. For example, like regularly, I can hear that like we need some dynamic GI, or we need some baked GI with RTX, but on lower end platforms where it's not supported, or we need more special effects here, or like volumetrics or shadows, or we need like to render million of objects, and you just gonna do something with it. And the answer how to deal with this is just to talk back and ask more specific questions. Maybe they don't really need 1,000 or 1 million objects, or maybe they don't need something else, because artists, they always need everything. It's like should look just like a movie. But in the reality, a lot of stuff can be done in very like simpler way. And yeah, but if it's still a complicated project problem, you need to split it up in more simpler parts and split it up into until you like have an idea how to approach it. So it's just the division of that. Yeah, so for example, if you need to the dynamic GI, first thing you do is just at least you have like some shadows and lights, and like GI is just like screen space, like second bounds. Super easy to do. It will give you some light information, but it's start point. Then they can just proceed their work. You can get deeper and see how to do it like not screen space, and like so forth. So first of all, like it's a lot of iterations on the same problem over the time. So yeah.
I agree completely with what Nikita said. There are no impossible tasks, but there are impossible deadlines. And this you have to discuss with your manager, pull back, because it's I mean, you can try to manage to deal with an impossible deadline, but you're most likely going to fail, and the product is not going to be good. So you propose next best alternative or next closest deadline.
Do deadlines have a different value when you're working on a live service game, as if you compare it to working on like a single player IP or a game that's still in development?
I think yes, because there are some expectations, and when you're working on a top secret IP with no download button, no early access button, right? I never there were, to be honest, I was working on super top secret projects through half of my career, and there were literally no deadlines. The only deadline was your boss asking you if you finished something or no, and that's it, right? So yeah, live service has its planning, it has its set schedule. For an example, if our production lead from our production, if he plans up a patch in January, it gets announced to the community, and you have to deliver something in January. Otherwise, they're gonna think you're not doing anything with the game, right? So yeah, expectations.
Yeah, because you sort of both responsible not just for your boss, your company, but also your community as well, right? So you need to make sure that you deliver. And also with, I guess, projects that are still development or the unannounced IPs or whatever. Like there's been so many cases, especially like last year and the year before, where they have an announced date for the release, but they like a month before or so they schedule it for another date, and then it continues. So I guess you can always do that.
Yeah, it's true. Just to add like a small piece, yeah, like as a graphics developer, I worked quite a lot on the games which are just in production, and like you're working on them and iterating, breaking something, changing completely the look in the last moment. But in 6 days, we faced the situation that like it is in early access, so everyone can play, download, and enjoy the game. But we decided to go with huge graphics update in the middle. And when I've joined, it already was a decision, but we decided to like go with RTX light map baking in runtime. And it's unusual. It was my first experience but it does make sense. Like when you have a solution, it already works. People have an expectations how the game look and how the game performs, but you're doing a so huge and unusual update that some on some PCs they can download the latest version and it perform a little bit worse but looks better. And this is actually not great. Like it's a thing which I think like we try to optimize it, but it is what it is. Like it's just doing super pretty picture, but yeah, it's unhappy that some people are like not enjoying that much anymore because it's like 10 or 15 FPS less kinda on their PC after upgrade. So it's something I've just experienced first time, and now I just keep in my back of my head. So.
Hmm. And just continuing on this multiplayer game topic, maybe just for both of you as well. So both of you have a lot of experience working with multiplayer games, and now you're working on a game that's so far has been fairly successful, right? You have a lot of positive reviews, and people seem to like the game. What makes why do some multiplayer games succeed and others fail? You know, what makes a successful multiplayer game? Like, what are the maybe steps? What's the foundation that you need to build in order to have a successful launch and I don't know, or to continue to be successful, especially like in this market when it's like so competitive?
I think it's a hard question and a little bit philosophical, so I redirect it to Michael.
Or I'm gonna redirect it to the game designers. Well, I think it's a purely game design question. I mean, I've been to some, to some talks and conferences, so I can sell you what I've learned on the talks. But more or less, it's about the game loop. So you have to make somehow players come back to the game. So allow them achieve a little bit, but
Sure.
then leave something, something still hidden from them. So I guess this. I mean, plus solid engineering, what we're doing with Nikita,
Yeah, it has
right?
to work, right? It has to work.
And when you're delivering a free AAA title, right, Nikita, you need cool graphics. Like without it, you're an indie game, but they pay $39 for it, so you're kind of expecting something. They're expecting to connect.
Yeah, it's all true. Yeah, it's a complicated question because, for example, as Michael in the beginning said, that every new game, I think every one of us already have this expectation. What is it about? Like if you downloading unnamed shooter game, you probably know that like the mouse is shoot, WSD just run around, and you already have this feeling, and this already like removes half of your new experience like it was in 2005 2006, where for example the first Call of Duty was completely different from the second one, because second one introduced new like movement system, and the fourth Call of Duty introduced have whole new genre and multiplayer and new era, and like the steps was so huge. Right now it's mostly about, oh, this game has new art style and this game has new like I don't know what else, like multiplayer of 32 64 people. I think we had at some point some experiments with like PlanetSide where you can play with 1000 people on the server, but it also wasn't really successful. I mean, it just was I mean, and what, like you have 1000 people, it's still boring, like if it's shooting mechanic is not great. So it's ultra complicated question about the game design and the visuals and the audience also changing. We already kind of grown up people, but for example 10 years ago, like these people now will play Fortnite, for example, all the time, right? And I'm personally not get it, like it's just not fun for me. Yeah, so I'm not grumpy and like I respect, like just please play. But
I don't like it as well.
yeah, I don't get it, like, and but it's super successful, right? Or like Roblox or anything else, and like okay, but our Peter CEO actually super like I don't know, like I think his first experience for the CEO is such great and experienced and know so much to say. He also kind of mentions that we are targeting like older audience and like mature, and it's still working. Like there's so much people on the market that you can really pick really like small in quotes audience where it's just grown up guys with the beards want to shoot like in military simulator with one life, and it still will sell good because it's still a lot of people in the audience. Just you need to narrow your idea as much as possible and make it as best as possible, so it will greatly sell to like targeted audience in the end.
No, totally. And again, like this can be applied to so many things in life. It's like, when you're making a product for everybody, you're making it for nobody. So as you say, you need to define your audience, and then you will succeed. Yeah, totally agree with that. I think for me as well, multiplayer games, they have to work generally. Like sometimes you play, I don't know, Beta or Call of Duty or maybe some other multiplayer game, and sometimes you have a lot of lagging, and then the whole experience just gets ruined, and you turn it off and you switch to something else, or you're waiting for too long of a time for somebody to log in to the game, and again then you kind of switch off to something else. So there's other bits that gets so important. So you guys work on fully remote basis, right? And you've been doing it for a long time. What do you think? How do you feel about that? I mean, do you think it's working? Do you think it's not working? Are there like many areas that can be improved when it comes to remote work? Like why, for example, there are more and more studios in game dev where they're returning to the office, and they prefer working from the studio environment. Do you think that matters at all for you personally, or you?
Yeah, maybe Michael starts. Like it's networking
Okay,
with people.
okay. Yeah, so I've been working remotely since, I don't know, 2015-ish or something like that. And I really can't imagine working in a different way. And it's great, and we should leave it. And that's the end. It's great. I don't see any issues. I think you have to appreciate you're working remotely, that you can, watch your favorite TV series along with doing your job, right? And you should do your job great. So no one ever in the company management says, "Hey, we have to get this guy into the office." And if they say you're going to get back to the office, it means you were too lazy in your remote job, or I don't know, you're doing something wrong. It's your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you
it's true.
think, Nikita?
Yeah, it's like I agree and a little bit disagree here somewhere. So I completely agree that like remote working culture is awesome. I also like it, and it's basically a lifesaver for me because last like I think 3 years already, I'm just traveling around the world and living in different countries for a while. So I mean, it's basically only the way I can survive. Yeah. So and I think remote working is work like great if like here's where we kind of a little bit maybe disagree, but it's working great when your game is not huge. When your engine is small, it's manageable. There are like some people who knows completely something about the engine, and every in the company is ultra into your project, and like they are self-motivated great. Basically what Michael saying, like they're doing a great job. And when project become bigger, it's not the case anymore, unfortunately. Like engine become bigger, you need to share, download, like ask other people about how it how this part works or another part works. That person can be like offline and do something else. You kind of been postponed because of this, or like you hire more and more artists. And not saying there's anything bad about the artists, but they're a little bit different in the case they're like working culture. It's more like artistic approach, I suppose. Some one of them like love to work in the morning, someone in the evening, other in the night, other from coffee shop, and this can be different. And yeah, like maybe I would prefer that they're like a hybrid approach for sure. So sometimes you really just sync up in the office, look into everyone's face, can hook up someone, talk about him, about like her, like about something really in depth, spend like together like 6-7 hours and go home, and other like 3-4 days you just working from home. But yeah, the games become bigger, it's a little bit hard to manage, and that's not my problem kind of, because I'm working on really niche things. But I think like for managers and like for producers, I think it's become a pain. but mostly it's unavailability of your colleagues. If your like working hours not really connects, it's a little bit of a problem. Like we are with Michael, we're working with states. They live in Seattle. I'm living in Belgrade. Yeah,
Is it
and we
like
have
9
this.
hours? 9 hours?
Yeah,
10
it's
hours
9
difference?
hours. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just perfect because I'm doing like I'm just waking up, working in like completely quiet environment, nobody distracting you. You have just like focused in. Then like they wake up, you have these meetings, things around, just talking, and this works great. But I know them. For example, we have a colleague. He also lives in Spain, but he preferred to start early, and it's sometimes like just not working great. Like in some cases, but yeah.
For a moment, I wanted to ask who is he, but we're not gonna make his name public. But I mean, yeah, I agree. You need to do some overlap, of course.
Mm.
There are some, I don't know, some kind of like process, workflow, or guidelines you have to keep, right? So I try to make it flexible. For example, I'm always responsive on Slack, regardless of the time anyone asks me. So even if I'm not at my desk, right, I'm gonna reply to you, hey, I'm on the grocery store. I'm back in 20 minutes. We can meet then. And I think it worked much better than, okay, I've done my 6 hours going offline. Bye.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
I think you have to manage that. I mean, and it's kind of on your side to make people comfortably work with you. And I think it kind of adds up to what you said, Nikita, that for large companies it might be unmanageable because the internal company culture has to make it work, and it's hard to keep up that culture if you have a lot of people because they introduce their own culture. For an example, culture of being
Mhm.
Absent on Slack.
Totally. And then like, especially if you have
I was just
different,
kidding around, of course.
especially if you have like different studios, different locations, different projects, and then every team, as I say, like can act differently. So yeah, it's difficult to put that together for sure. Me personally, I do a little bit of both. I go to the office a few days a week, and then I work remotely, the days. I like that. It's for me sometimes it's difficult to concentrate on things when I'm working from home, because as you say, there's quite a few distractions. So working from like a different location, I prefer that.
Yeah, and I think in
Um,
general, like people, I mean, people are different. And myself, I think if I will go to office, you can just be a little bit more energized and then, like you see all of that people working here, you see your like I know game posters. It's like it's physical, it's live because
mm,
I never met my colleagues live yet. And your game is digital on Steam, and you're just doing like typing. I mean, psychologically, it can little also affect your kind of how you treat it. It's kind of not real for your conscious, and it's like if you feel it, you see them, you can play the game together, discuss it. It can bring more like excitement. You can just be more productive. But yeah, so.
how do you guys connect outside of work? I mean, obviously, you say you haven't met them in person, but I mean, is there like any other way that you, I don't know, do things together? Maybe like play online games or whatever. That's kind of outside of work. So,
Yeah, I don't know. Like Michael, do you have some?
I think we had a short conversation, not about work,
hmm.
about knowing you, right?
Oh yeah, we connect through you. Yeah.
So
Oh yeah,
yeah, we
true.
connected for you. So yeah, I can say it's not like we're playing games, but I think we're both open to playing games together. It just we didn't discuss it yet.
Yeah, I mean we have internal playtests, so people like group up in the Discord, and the whole
Mhm.
company, like I think like around 70 people probably, so like 60 of them at least. They playing game, share, but it's a little bit different from when you just relax playing the game. You're not really bothered. Oh my God, this grass is white, like brown. It should be green, and just report the bug. So yeah, it's like it's still work type of playing,
Right.
but Yeah, I mean, I think people like so we have a Slack, and people in Seattle they group up sometimes on some Waffle Wednesday and stuff. Yeah, for me, just fly from Belgrade to Seattle. Not that.
For a Waffle Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah, for
Can't do
Waffle
that.
Wednesday, it's not
Can't do
not
that.
that easy. But I hope in
Mm.
future we can all probably group up somewhere.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Can organize like a workation or something.
Yeah.
I wanted to play with guy from our QA, Zach,
Mhm.
and I invited him to Discord. I was like, "Oh, you're playing Dark and Darker." He said, "Yeah, okay, I'm playing Dark and Darker. Cool, let's play together. We're gonna play together." And then came the time of the play when I get around with my friends, and I'm like thinking, "Oh my God, this guy is from US, so either we are going to have lags, or he is going to have a bad time." Then someone will have to say, "Okay, we don't want to play like this." We'll have to kick someone from the group. It's going to be awkward. So eventually, we backed out
Complicated.
of the idea. And I really like the guy, but I don't think that playing through the Atlantic is going to be fun for us. So that's another issue. Usually, you have your own group of your closest friends you play with, right?
Mhm. Nice. Got you. What was the most exciting game? Not necessarily exciting, but I don't know, like interesting or challenging game that you guys had an opportunity to work on? Would you say is
Uh,
this one, or I don't know, any of the previous ones maybe?
Okay, so for me personally, this one is definitely exciting because I mean, like I've switched jobs, like from my past job to this one just because the title. Like I mean, it's not usual when you've been invited to develop the game which you actually played and kind of a fan of. I mean, I really liked it, and I think what we are doing is awesome because we are like bringing these old school shooters. Again, like to the public, and I actually missed it because again, like if you play in Call of Duty, latest Call of Duty, it's just like pink ponies and zombies, and it just for someone else, it's not like Call of Duty 4 2, like Modern Warfare 2. And yeah, it's definitely exciting. I like all the environment. It's also like Michael said that when you love the game, you also like trying more, put more effort in the end, especially when in Slack you can even discuss the game and mechanics and the design and like history about the Fallujah and all the events. And if you know about it, like you have a lot of in common and you quickly could doing the connection with other people. So in this case, yes. But for me, I worked on Saints Row 3 Remastered one time, and this was a crazy project. It's so far it's the craziest one. It was my first project when I just know about the graphics from the books and like some YouTube videos and like doing something myself. And it's like it's long story, but it's like a whole story about the remaster. Basically, we just removed the whole rendering pipeline and started from scratch, like absolutely from scratch. And this is a little bit different even from game development because you don't have game designers, you don't have an idea how game should look or behave. You only have this like a vision how render should look and like how art direction should like be in the end. So it was super difficult but super exciting project. It was purely artist stuff.
Okay. What about you, Michal?
Well, for me, I think through all of my career, I have to confess, all of my career, I have done games which weren't interesting to me at all, unless it was some super experimental project I couldn't talk of that's never going to be released. But it was only a glimpse of that, what the game could be. So to be honest, it's the most exciting project I'm ever doing, right? I grew from VR for industry. So everything after VR for industry, everything is exciting.
Yeah, totally. Nice. What's your both take on everything that's going on in the industry at the moment, right? So we touched upon this with you, Nikita, as well, when you mentioned that it's great when you're making a project that's sort of focused on a particular audience, and that way you can generate quite a lot of interest from still a lot of people. But there seems like there's so much supply like in the market and everything, and there's so many games to choose from, and maybe that's one of the reasons why like so many games fail and therefore companies fail. And obviously it's not the only reason, but it also sort of impacts the situation in the industry now when we're having layoffs, when we're having studio closures and people losing their jobs. Like, what's your take on it in general? Have you come across many people or maybe friends of yours that lost jobs like this year or last year in the industry, or like just what are your thoughts about all this in general?
Yeah. Hopefully nobody lost the jobs of my friends yet, but it's very unfortunate that like art industry is suffer most when the stability in the world been shaken. Of course, it's like you cut the costs of the kind of the beautiful things and like things without which you can survive without. So less money for games or movies. Everything become more secure and stagnated. So you can see that movies are bit really repeatable. Games are not doing experiments because there are less kind of free money on the market. So about the game industry in general, I think it's bad. It's a little bit of regression. Yeah, but particularly about the like game industry and the programming stuff of it, like as engineer and engineering. I also feel not great that more and more companies are moving towards Unreal. I think the diversity of engine and tools and like its diversity brings more joy in the end, because own engines, own tools, own solutions brings own bugs and visuals, and it just like feels cool after it all. Like, I mean, it's still a sync and source engine where you can like jump left and right and like traverse through the blades. I mean, like it's original bug in source engine, but it become a whole new direction, like bunny hop and stuff. And this thing just like getting less and less. Like you already can guess, is it game done in Unity or Unreal? Like it's become boring even in this stage. Like, is this motion blur? That's probably Unreal. It's like flickering, so Unreal. Is this like 2D game, indie? It's probably Unity. And it's just a little bit bored. And from the position itself, as a graphics programmer, it's also a little bit sad because you have less opportunities in the world, and they become more and more harder to reach. Like there's still some companies in the world are doing custom engines, and when you're doing a custom engine for the game, you can do specific solutions just specifically for your game, and it feels and looks good, and it's interesting, it's challenging, you have fun from your workload. It is Unreal, it's not completely that case, because with Unreal you have all the tools, you just need to optimize the connection between the tools, maybe bring some new specific solutions in particular cases, but overall you just you kind of not that free with this with this tool in the end. So it's like 3 stages of your question.
Why do you think people are moving more towards Unreal? Is it to save costs and development costs, or is it just more practical, easier to use? Like, why do you think that's the case?
Yeah, it's you definitely can answer that people can cut the costs for sure, but there are some cases in the industry where it's not completely clear. For example, I know that CD Projekt Red, they got rid of Red Engine, which they released the Cyberpunk, and they had an engine which could use for Cyberpunk development, right? Like it's a huge game, but they move in for Unreal, and they will use Unreal for next game, and they cut the team, cut the costs. So it's definitely something that also games become so much complicated that you like initial time for preparation, you can't write like whole engine. You need like year or year and a half to write an engine for that, more or less, and the tooling, so you can start writing start working on the game. So you're already taking a like good solution, but because Unreal is like, I have this analogy that when you're working with Unreal, you're not working with your own like source code and your own like knowledge and stuff. You like a serviceman is huge Siemens turbine or something. Like something broken, you don't know exactly why it's happening. You go inside, like checking out like what is it broken inside, to have a small idea, getting back, okay, it's working. Broken something else, and like that you get this expertise in the field. Just not not wrote it from the beginning, so you can come back quickly, and iterate. That's just my view on that. Maybe Michael.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but the problem is like the technology stack that Unreal has to offer is gonna just grow. It's gonna be just much more complex, and it's hard to make your own engine right now from scratch. I mean, the cost would be like giant. Unless they're, I don't know, actually. I don't know. I think I'm afraid also, as Nikita said, like this notion of playing a game and you're like, okay, that's Unreal Engine, right? It's a true thing. So actually, all of the games they kind of like become the same game, the same Medicore game, yeah, and that's really a thing. I'm not sure how the future is going to look, but like Unreal has so much to offer and has going to have so much more to offer in the future, like in terms of graphics, like the Nanite thing and stuff. I mean, I'm not a graphics expert. Maybe that's possible to implement when you have like your own game engine in some sensible amount of time. But for me, it's like, wow, I would never consider if I had my own studio. Being a networking guy, of course, if I had my own studio, I would never consider writing my own graphics pipeline because that's so big and so complex.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like Nanite is definitely possible if you hire like 3-4 graphics engineers and just imagine the beginning of the costs, how much it will cost you in the end. But another example that for like my past company, King Games, we worked on Enshrouded, and for example, the game works in such different ways that if you take an Unreal, you need to write like basically half of it just to make it work, because it was like full destructible. You can build it's like dynamic time of day, dynamic weather. So it's like all the data structures, things like which communicates with each other. It's multiplayer for multiple person, and like destruction should work together. It's just too much to write like an Unreal. So we had an own engine which just drives this specific type of engineering thing in the end.
Was that engine built specifically for Enshrouded with King Games?
It was an engine that the company used originally for Portal Knights, but it was iterated into game engine for Enshrouded. So it's like, I mean, if you start with something small, you can technically start with your own engine and like little bit naturally grow into something bigger in the end. Just imagine how much time and money you need. Like it's 5-7 years and so much $1 million or something. For sure, if you have it, welcome. At least like your life is fun and you can work on something interesting. But yeah, in the end, Unreal gives you so much tools. And if you start in the game engine company or game company, and you have some artists already willing to iteate, Unreal just gives you all the tools. I mean, when you will start have the first problems and the second problems, you will hire more programmers, and like iteration times will slow down. But it's nothing you can do already. Yeah, you're kind of stuck in this case.
Sure.
Good thing you've mentioned, Nikita, about like some specific game designs being easier to implement from scratch than using Unreal Engine. I think 6 Days is one of those games, especially the map generation thing. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. If those guys were using their own engine, I mean, Unreal 5 introduced some tools that would like be a game changer right now, but we're still stuck in a custom solution with Unreal 4, and switching to another engine would be super costly, and it would like postpone our release date another, I don't know, half a year or I don't know how much. So yeah,
it's true.
Talking about just challenges in general that the industry is facing now and maybe will be facing in the future, like what would you say are like the biggest threats? Like, would you say, I don't know, AI is a threat? Is it something else that's coming that we don't know about, that we need to be prepared for? I don't know, from more of a generic perspective, is there anything specific that you think?
So my fear about this whole recession is that the quality of games will go down in terms that everyone's, because like each engineering project has some funding behind it. That wants some return on their investment, right? And since everything's kind of slowing down, you're going to try to make more safer investments. Safer investments means more medicore games. On the other hand, Ubisoft, right? Okay, I wasn't supposed to tell names. You have to cut it out like a beep. But there you go, right? The Super Medicore game, 5th edition or 6th, or I don't know how many were there, right? And their stock is falling down. So hopefully I'm wrong, and maybe it's not a real fear, it's not a real threat. But I'm afraid that quality of games will go down, and it has been degrading. We've seen that through years right now. So yeah.
Sure. And I feel like in some cases, the people that invest the money into studios and into games, and the people that make games have very different perspectives of which games are going to be successful and which are going to be not that successful. And usually the investors are not right in that sense, but for some reason they think they're right. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I mean, if investors become more secure, they just not investing into very weird artsy projects, and I mean, in this case, we will lose so much. Yeah, but in general, what I think like about AI and stuff, I feel like it also will affect the quality. I mean, we already had this situation a while ago when we had this indie game Sunrise, and like I don't remember when it started. It's like 2012 when Jungle Ball released Braid, and more and more small indie games appeared. Like Steam released Greenlight, but it also brings like a wave of kind of garbage games where like you have a marketplace of assets. You just buying like $5 asset, just making a game in like 5 days and put it to Steam Greenlight, paying $100, and it was like a bless and a curse, definitely. And AI in this case, a little bit the same. That like it definitely helps you in some aspect of game development. But if I mean, we already like walking around and we can see the posters or like some pictures of AI generated. I mean, we literally was in the shop and there was like a cards, like Christmas cards with AI, like Santa Claus, and like it looks awful. You can literally see that it is generated. Like you don't like it, but it is there. It's just doing yeah, exactly. So games can be the same. Like if it will be utilized in the wrong way, and the quality will go down. But maybe because of the market will shrink, maybe we will actually reiterate in this spiral again, where like indie market will grow up a little bit. Initial costs will be smaller, but the games will be smaller. But maybe experiments will be brighter because like iteration times will be much smaller. So maybe it will be refreshing in the end, and we will see just like through the history. Yeah.
I think that the interface that we're using for gaming is very old. So I kind of like interface kind of defines what you can do. Like kind of from philosophical. I'm gonna be philosophical again
Go on,
here.
go
Like
on.
your body kind of defines your behavior, right? So when you're a dog, right? And your body has, for an example, you have a very big nose, very sensitive, right? You go around and sniff things, right? And we humans, we're sensitive for touch. So what we do, we touch stuff, right? Or for an example, dogs also those don't have sensitive. I mean, do have sensitive paws, but there's not. It's not the same as we, right? So so the thing is that, and I want to go jump into example of Counter-Strike, which was a very successful game, and now it's like kind of rebirth in Valorant, right? It's kind of the same game. Go around, you shoot, you jump. It's kind of, and it's all kind of governed by the controllers that we have at home, right? So I'm looking forward to VR, to what it's going to become, as it's going to become cheaper and more accessible, and this will open a lot of doors and a lot of new concepts, and maybe it will also open, space for new game engines. That because all the technology stack that Unreal Epic Game has done for our controllers at home will not be so good when you're playing VR. So yeah.
Yeah, no, VR is very, very exciting. So I'm working now with a company that they don't make games, but they make VR experiences. So like location-based VR experiences. And it's a bit, I don't know if you guys know Sandbox VR, where you can go into like a room and then you play like a 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 PvP game in
Proper
VR.
VR
So,
experience.
yeah, so they do that, but a little bit different. So you go into, I don't know, like a big room. There's usually more people doing the experience together, and like 20, 30 people. You're able to see them, and you go through this experience. It takes like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, and I don't know. It's like the visuals are like pretty good, and you can really get like immersed and get lost in the experience in doing that. And they're using like Unity engine to build those. But yeah, like they are amazing, and I can only imagine like what the future is going to look like, in 5 years or 10 years, when you have when the engines become more sophisticated, when you're able to sort of do more stuff with it. Don't know. What's your take on VR, Nikita?
Yeah, so about the VR, it has own hype for a while, like strong hype, right? Like when it was first released, like Oculus Quest, and there was like Boneworks, and everyone was completely blown off of how Boneworks did interaction with every object in the map. You just can grab a crowbar, like shoot, just like go through ladders and jump around. Then Alex was released. It was another like wave of hype. Everyone played Half-Life Alex, both like Index headset and so on. But then it became a little bit quiet, and it's for a reason. I think like I have my headset here, actually close, just lays behind me. 3S.
Is it good? I'm actually thinking of buying one. Is it worth it?
Yeah, it's fine. It's I had only the first Quest. I sold it a while ago, and recently I've just bought the 3S, and it's pretty fine. Like you play in Alex, you play in other games. It just I don't know, like it's pretty good. But it still has its own limitations, which are unfortunate. Like its motion sickness still not solved completely. Then basically what Michael said, like about the input and like sensors, that it's great that you have much better experience around you. You can like see through, like little bit be more advanced in the movement around, but it's again kind of constrained to your like hand interactions in your like viewing position. Your every game design become really restricted. That's why we have so much games about, I don't know, kayak simulator, like rock climbing simulator, just because you have hands and the head. And I think VR will shine, definitely. It just needs some breakthrough, and breakthrough requires money and time to just play around, experiment. I mean, we literally like with PUBG, there was new genre released. However, we had so much PC games like Arma and Battlefield and so on. But when PUBG was released, it's like new complete genre, and now we have so much battle royales. So, and it's like, I mean, the market already was quite saturated at the time. So, and yeah, it's not always obvious until you get something and it works fine. But right now, I think it's really quiet on the VR market, and I don't think really big studios will invest something just because the market is small. Maybe it's a little bit even shrinks quietly because nothing happens there, and this is like the problem right now. Yeah.
When you play multiplayer games in VR, Michal, like, is the challenge of making such games in VR different? Is it more challenging than to make them for other consoles and PC and whatnot?
If you're using Unreal Engine, it's basically the
Basically the
same
same.
thing. Engineering/server-wise, you have a little bit different interactions, right? You have to replicate, those hands and stuff. So gameplay-wise, it's different, but it's the same game because you're using the same engine, kind of, right? So the game principles do not change. You still have clients that connect to a server. You need the server guy hired.
Always, yeah.
Nice. Okay, well, to wrap it up, maybe just the last question for fun. If you could make any game, if you had all the money in the world, all the time in the world, all the best developers in the world, you including obviously, what would you make? Genre,
Your work,
game,
Michael.
idea. I don't know. You have any ideas?
It's not a brilliant idea, but lately we've been with friends. We've been playing this game Dark and Darker, and we're also fans of DayZ. So I'm trying my free time. I'm trying to blend those games together. And Nikita, you said about games with marketplace assets. It's gonna be my game. So yeah. So if I had like a tremendous budget and I could do anything, I think I would do this because I want to play it right now. So maybe it's not a grand vision, but I think it's gonna be pretty solid fun.
Yeah, me, in my case, like, I was grown up on a couple of the games, but I think one of them was like Half-Life 2, and this affected me like a lot. And like a lot of other people. For example, I've met a guy back in Russia who was like theoretical physics, like he did theoretical physics, and he was literally inspired by Gordon Freeman. Like he's like, wow, physics so good, I want just open another world and stuff. And I think this is a great thing about the gaming that I mean, it can be something like Fortnite, but on the other hand, it will be kind of an art. And one of my favorite games was like Kerbal Space Program, where you can compose your rocket ship from different parts, fly around to Moon, Mars, and you're like this Kerbal planet. And I really liked it. I've spent a lot of 100 hours, like I don't know, 400 hours of life playing around, and it was still not enough. Could be much more. It was so great that I think it's like whole team was bought up by Valve, and they like just like disappeared. Like whole team disappeared, and they started to do a second Kerbal Space program, and it's not doing really great right now. I know it's like have a lot of problems. So in my case, I think I will approach the idea that like the game should be inspirable and like educationable in first place. That you like it's a grown up person or like a kid, you play in it, you're learning something new, and it can be like eye-opening experience. Should be simulator, of course, but it should bring just like open something new in your brain. And in my case, it probably will be like maybe something about the space, kind of space simulator stuff, but maybe a little bit with this artsy direction where you can tell some stories. So it will be like a mix of real world space and I don't know, like a Little Prince problems with his own rose, which he's trying to save somewhere. But yeah, so something like this. But it definitely requires custom engines. So see, like nothing.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, it's good to know that custom engines still have the future
Yeah, absolutely.
for things like that. As well, thank you guys for joining. It was a pleasure, and yeah, I mean, we'll continue keeping in touch. If you both are ever in Barcelona, hit me up.
Yeah, I need to
We
go.
can meet in
I
person.
owned you beer, so
Yeah,
I remember it forever.
Yeah, no, you have to come.
We can also meet on some conference in
For
Europe,
sure.
right?
For sure.
It's also true.
If you guys going to any, let me know, and we can organize something.
Yep.
Cool. I'm gonna switch it off now.